Go to our next story. You know, good old Kano is not just the second largest city in Nigeria after Lagos, but a major commercial and industrial center. The emirate in Kano was formed in 1805, you remember. The emir of Kano is one of the foremost leaders of Hausa Muslims the world over. So a remote cause of the tussle in Kano can be traced to the creation of 4 emirate councils, Bichi, Rano, Gaya, and Garaye, by former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, chairman of the APC. Now, the current governor in Kano, by an act of parliament, quashed the 4 emirate councils, even as the deposed emir, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi II, was reinstated. It became a court matter. Political gladiators are not letting up just yet. And question, would Kano be the same again? Only time would tell.
Well,
Paul.
Already things are happening. There's a court, there's actually a court order now that came in. The Federal High Court ordered that all the appointments, I mean, everything should be reversed now, that has voided the removal of Emir Bayero. This is because the court said that the Kano State government should have listened to his order, his interim order, that they should maintain the status quo while the substantial issue is being dealt with. It remains to be seen whether the Kano State government will obey that. However, there is also a conflicting order by a court of coordinating jurisdiction, Kano State High Court, which has even ordered that that man, I don't know how he should be arrested, you know. Now, look at that. Now, the governor will have to choose which courts to obey. And you're almost sure which one is going to obey. We just spoke about...
Okay, so Wale is telling me that you have a choice.
No.
Of which court order?
No.
Okay.
It's a mockery of the system brought about by politicians. It is, you know, see, I don't know, I think the judiciary has to find a way of rescuing itself from politicians.
Oh, yeah.
You bring a case to a court, you go to another court of a similar, of a coordinated jurisdiction, bring the same case, and then
issue an order.
Both courts issue different orders. So politicians will now say, okay, I can obey this, I can obey that. It's very bad. We just spoke about Ibadan now, that have a very smooth system of ascension.
Yeah.
I think that politicians have no respect for the courts. I think they also have no respect for the traditional institution. It's actually, what's happening in Kano is actually a show of shame. I'm sure they will say they want to go on appeal. You know, want to go on appeal. They want to, all of that. It's
so
very
it's not yet Uru.
It's not yet Uru. The Federal High Court has given an order. Okay, revert to the status quo. I gave you an order. You did not obey it. I gave you an order until the substantial issue is dealt with. You did not obey it. Go back. And the funny thing is this. Another thing is, I hope the case will not even start de novo, because this Justice Liman has been elevated to the appeal court, and he has transferred the case to another judge. He has transferred the case to another judge, starting de novo, starting afresh. Now, that said, there's also Kano State High Court. The matter is there. Then maybe they will go on appeal. Then maybe they will go to Supreme Court. Just because of the interest of two conflicting political heavyweights in the state. It's very shameful, honestly. It's shameful.
Yeah, but you are told in politics, friendship is not permanent.
It's about interest, yeah.
Wale, so good old Kano is not going to know peace until very, very shortly or days after?
I think what is going on is very unfortunate, because Ibadan, Kano in a way is similar to Ibadan in terms of what Kano means to northern Nigeria and what Ibadan means to the people of the old western region. If you look at this,
it was the old political capital.
Yeah, capital, of the entire western region, northern region. And in terms of
Kano.
Yeah, in terms of history, that traditional title is a very old title. Even before the conquest of 1805 that we are talking about, there has been a traditional institution in Kano since 999 AD, you know, before the jihad that took over that power in 1805. And we have had series of turmoil, you know, conflict in the Kano Emirate since 1805. Provoked, you know, internal crisis and all that. But I think even when the British came in 1905, you know, they still respected that institution and allowed it to be, because they know that it meant a lot to the people, you know, of it. It's an Islamic state that has played significant role in African history. So that's why previous institutions, governments have always shown respect. But these days, our political leaders are trying to subsume, you know, this traditional institution. They want to put it under their armpit. They want the emirate to reflect the interest of the dominant political class in Kano. And that is why when two political parties are fighting, you know, the emirate usually becomes a pawn in the game, becomes direct victim of the, you know, the intra-party, you know, the intra-elite, which is not supposed to be.
And again, let me quickly reflect on something here. The former governor split the emirate just to whittle down the powers of Emir Sanusi. So you read a lot of politics into that?
Of course it was political, though.
That is politics.
Yeah, I think Emir Sanusi, I don't know how to address both of them now, because you know, he also could be blamed, because the tradition is that emirs, you know, hardly speak. But when an emir begins to dig his hands into the pies of politics, he will have his hands soiled. You know, traditional rulers are supposed to maintain distant, you know, relationship with political affairs so that they don't end up in a hot soup. But he was always dabbling into political affairs and all sorts. But I think it was not a good tactics. And I think that was one of those that ended, you know, that put him in trouble. As we are now, I think this is the first time in recent history that we're having two emirs.
No, just by talking about emir, the 14th emir, Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, he was an outspoken emir. He spoke truth to power, and some people wouldn't take it.
Well, you see, traditional rulers can speak. There are many ways you can speak truth to power, but you must be conscious of the strategic position you are holding and the impact it could have, you know, on the political system. Because when an emir speaks, it has a lot of impact on the body movement, the psychology, the mental orientation, you know, of the subjects. And it could lead to unforeseen consequences. And that is why emirs, people in that position, are expected to be circumspect, that they can reach out to authorities covertly without necessarily making statements that can become inflammatory. It's not the only emir. Of course, Kano is a vassal state of Sokoto Caliphate. And the Sultan of Sokoto hardly speaks. The El Kaneme of Kano, of equal status, of Borno Empire, hardly speaks. You know, so the Obong of Calabar, you know, you really, if I look at the Oba of Bini, when he speaks, literally reinforce. You listen. I mean, because he hardly speaks, and that gives a lot of respect. It mystifies that position. But when on every situation you want to, you know, make statement, you want to talk, you demystify that institution, and people will begin to challenge you because you are challenging their political rules. So they also challenge you, and it will lead to all sorts of problems. So I think the way it is now, the governor of Kano State wants his own candidate to emerge, you know, to be the emir of Kano. And I think at the end of the day, it is only court that will be able to resolve this issue. The governor is not ready to give in, and the same way.
It's unfortunate we are having to rely on courts, Paul, because you are tempted to ask, wherein lies the traditional council here?
Traditional council that is at the mercy and of the whims and caprices of political heavyweights, of governors.
Does this not remind you of the days when we had the parliamentary system, Wally? There was the House of Chiefs.
Well, yes.
You had
yes,
the assembly.
But it also depends on the personality of whoever is in charge. You don't hear that an Edo State governor touches the Oba, for example, Oba of Benin. Okay? You don't even hear as controversial as
the Benin monarchy is an absolute one. You can't mess with it.
Well, there's no such thing. Well, absolute monarchy, but operating within a constitution now. No, what I'm trying to say is that times have changed.
But times have changed, but does not affect what's on ground there.
No, I'm not. Yes, I think it depends. If a politician wants to mess up with a traditional stone, he will do it. I agree with Wale when he said that Emir Sanusi was not mindful of what was supposed to be the conservativeness of his tool. I agree with him absolutely. But the truth of the matter is, it also depends on the personality. There is I don't want to mention his name, there's a king in Yoruba land here who is also very controversial, who is, might say unruly. You know, people talk about him, they have written about him a lot. But I've not seen the governor of his state, for example, try to upset whatever is it's happening there. You
have told us why.
Because he has not made political statements that threatens.
Don't let me go there. But what I'm trying to say is that it depends on the personal. This is all about political interest.
Okay.
This man, the Emir Sanusi, offended the political gods that ruled Kano at that moment, and he had to be dethroned, banished, and then the emirate was split, and all of that. Now, this man that is there now is not in the same bed with the man who removed Sanusi.
But now, recall that former Emir Sanusi and Emir Bayero are relatives.
Doesn't matter. It's just
it matters, though.
Political interests are bigger than family ties. That's the truth of the matter.
Filial relationships.
It depends on what value you place on each of them. It depends on what value. There are people who are ready to, who probably can even kill their family members, cousins, because of politics. It's all about, in the end, it's not about the interest of the citizens of Kano. It's not about the interest of good governance. It's not even, there's no respect. If these two men, the two emirs, think that they are respected by their governors, I think they are not.
Wale, all of this does not do Kano any good. Yeah. So we are looking, look at the Kano of yore. Was a center of trade,
Islamic learning.
You remember the
knowledge,
groundnut pyramids were all in Kano and
Sahara trade.
Yes.
Yeah. I think generally.
And somebody wants to mess with that age-old institution.
Well, I think on a general note, this is a kind of advice to custodians of traditional institutions that the emerging socio-political contradictions is threatening traditional institutions. People are asking a lot of questions, and one is wondering whether the traditional institution will be able to survive this tide. Don't forget that in other countries we have traditional institutions. In India, in Libya, in Syria, in Egypt, in Israel. So the internal crisis, within traditional institutions now may fuel a kind of upheaval that people will begin to ask questions that do we actually need these institutions any longer? What is the relevance? In England, there have been a lot of reforms by traditional institutions to meet up with the aspirations of the people. So if traditional institutions are not ready to reform, they want to live by the standard of 17th century, there will be all sorts of conflict, coming from the political class, coming even from the masses. For instance, in the past, we never had a situation where people will go and attack an emir. But they start armed gangs, attacking them, going to their... So it shows that their relevance in the context of the dynamics of Nigerian politics. So they need to learn to reform, and the way they can reform is that they must realize that they are there for their people. When they're in power, they must listen to their people, meet their aspiration, and stay away from dirty political waters. They don't do that.
That reformation can't just happen. The laws have to protect the traditional institution.
Okay.
We must give them, if we still want to preserve them, let us give them defined roles under our laws. You talk about UK. The laws guiding that country already give roles to the
It took years.
Yes.
In the case of the UK,
Eswatini.
you can talk about Tudor house producing the king or the queen or the queen at any time. No, so they have not tampered with it.
Yeah.
But of course there have been what? There have been laws, there have been reforms on what the monarch can do or cannot do.
In our country?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about UK.
Okay.
Even in Africa here, Eswatini, former Swaziland.
Yeah.
The king is the head of state.
Oh yeah.
So, and he has enormous power. It's actually the president, is the head of state. He appoints the prime minister. Now, it's a traditional institution. It's a traditional institution that has been before they started to modernize, but they found a way to accommodate that institution in their laws. So if you actually need traditional rulers, we must find a way of preserving them under our laws. That's what I'm saying.
Or because you cannot wish them